It was 3 a.m., the kind of silence that usually costs a fortune to buy in this city. Sebastian Blackwood, the vampire king, who owned half of Manhattan, walked into his kitchen expecting a glass of blood wine. Instead, he found a 17-year-old girl, hands raw and red, scrubbing a mountain of porcelain dishes in the dark. She wasn't supposed to be there. She was supposed to be in bed getting ready for the prestigious prep school he paid for. But when she turned around, terrified, Sebastian saw a bruise on her cheek that the shadows couldn't hide. He asked one simple question: "Why aren't you sleeping?" Her answer didn't just break his heart. It started a war that would burn the city to the ground. You think you know romance? Wait until you hear what the king did next. The grandfather clock in the west wing of Blackwood Manor chimed 3 times, the sound echoing through the cavernous hallways like a death knell. Sebastian Blackwood did not sleep. Sleep was a mortal weakness, a little death that vampires of his bloodline had evolved beyond centuries ago. At this hour, the master of the city, a creature who controlled the banking sector, the ports, and the shadow government of New York, was usually reviewing stock portfolios or drinking a vintage O negative from a crystal tumbler in his study. But tonight, a sound disturbed him. It was faint, a rhythmic clink, swish, clink. It was coming from the industrial kitchens on the ground floor. Sebastian frowned. His staff, a mix of well-paid humans and indentured familiars, knew better than to be awake during his prowling hours. The house rules were absolute. From 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., the manor belonged to the king. He moved with supernatural grace, his silk robe trailing silently over the marble floors. He didn't walk, he flowed, a predator drifting through his own territory. He reached the double swing doors of the kitchen and pushed one open with a single pale finger. The kitchen was dark, save for the harsh LED light above the main sink. Standing on a step stool, hunching over a basin filled with soapy water, was a girl. She couldn't have been more than 17. She was small, her frame hidden beneath an oversized grey hoodie that had seen better days. Her hair, a messy bun of chestnut brown, was falling into her eyes. It was Lily, the daughter of his head housekeeper, Sarah. Sebastian paused in the shadows, his eyes narrowing. He allowed Sarah and her daughter to live in the servants' quarters because Sarah was the only human who could properly iron a silk shirt without burning it, and she made a blood sausage that reminded him of his childhood in 18th century London. He paid for the girls' tuition at St. Jude's Academy, the most exclusive mixed-species school in the state, as a bonus to keep Sarah loyal. So why was the girl washing dishes at 3 a.m.? And not just a few dishes, there were stacks of them. Fine china from the dinner party he'd hosted 3 days ago, silverware that needed polishing, copper pots. She was scrubbing with a manic intensity, her breath hitching in little gasps that sounded painfully like suppressed sobs. Sebastian stepped into the light. "You missed a spot!" Lily jumped so hard she dropped a saucer. It shattered against the granite countertop, the sound like a gunshot in the quiet room. She spun around, her face draining of color. When she saw him, tall, pale eyes glowing with a faint crimson luminescence, she didn't just look scared. She looked resigned, like she expected to die. "Master Blackwood," she stammered, dropping into a clumsy curtsy, water dripping from her elbows onto the floor. "I'm so sorry. I'll pay for the saucer, I promise. Please don't tell my mom. I'll work it off." Sebastian glided closer, ignoring the broken porcelain. He looked at her hands. They were swollen, the skin cracked and red from hours of exposure to hot water and harsh chemicals. "Lily," he said, his voice low and smooth like velvet over gravel. "Why are you doing the scullery maid's job? Where is the night staff?" Lily looked down at her wet sneakers. They asked me to cover for them, sir, at 3 a.m. Sebastian raised an eyebrow. "On a school night?" She flinched at the word school. It was a microscopic reaction, a tightening of the jaw, a dilation of the pupils. If Sebastian hadn't been a vampire with senses sharpened by 400 years of hunting, he would have missed it. "I don't need much sleep," she lied. The lie was terrible. She smelled of exhaustion, a sour metallic scent that permeated the air. "You are shaking," Sebastian noted coldly. He reached out and took her chin in his hand, tilting her face up. She trembled, but didn't pull away. His cold thumb brushed her cheekbone. Under the harsh kitchen light he saw it, a bruise. It was expertly covered with cheap concealer, but to his eyes the underlying hematoma was as clear as day. It was shaped like a handprint. Sebastian's dead heart gave a strange, violent thud. Someone had struck a member of his household. Even if she was just the maid's daughter, she was under his protection. "Who hit you?" he demanded. The temperature in the kitchen dropped 10 degrees instantly. "Nobody," Lily whispered, tears leaking from the corners of her eyes. "I fell in gym class, volleyball." "Liar," Sebastian hissed. "And why are you washing dishes instead of studying? Sarah tells me you're falling behind in history. You used to be the top of your class." Lily pulled her face away from his grip, turning back to the sink. She plunged her hands back into the scalding water as if the pain grounded her. "I just need to finish this, sir. Please, if I don't finish the copper pots by dawn, Mr. Henderson said he'd dock my mom's pay." Sebastian froze. Henderson, the estate manager, an oily, sycophantic man who bowed low whenever Sebastian walked by. "Henderson ordered you to do this?" He said, since I wasn't going to school anymore, I had to earn my keep." The silence that followed was absolute. Sebastian processed the sentence slowly. "Since you weren't going to school anymore." Lily froze, realizing she'd said too much. She squeezed her eyes shut. I got expelled, sir, 3 days ago." Sebastian felt a surge of genuine confusion. Lily was a quiet, mousy thing. She spent her weekends reading in the garden. She had never caused trouble in her life. "Expelled?" Sebastian repeated. "For what?" Lily turned to him, and for the first time there was a spark of anger in her dull eyes. "For theft. They said I stole a sapphire bracelet from Jessica Vanderhoven." Sebastian laughed. A cold, dry sound. "Jessica Vanderhoven, the daughter of the alpha of the tri-state werewolf pack?" "Yes," Lily said, her voice trembling. "They found it in my locker. I didn't take it, I swear, but the headmaster, he said, 'Humans like me always get greedy around high-value targets.'" "So you were expelled," Sebastian summarized, the pieces clicking together. "And you didn't tell your mother because you knew it would break her heart. So you told Henderson, and he decided to blackmail you into free labor in exchange for his silence." Lily nodded mutely. Sebastian looked at the pile of dirty dishes. He looked at the girl's raw hands. He looked at the bruise on her face that screamed of a werewolf's heavy hand. Rage, cold and ancient, began to uncoil in his gut. It wasn't pity he felt. It was possessiveness. This girl belonged to the Blackwood estate, and nobody touched what belonged to Sebastian Blackwood. "Leave the dishes," Sebastian commanded. "But Mr. Henderson said—" "I don't care what the hired help said." Sebastian's voice boomed, rattling the remaining plates. He took a deep breath, smoothing his silk robe. "Go to bed, Lily. Tomorrow you are not washing dishes. Tomorrow you and I are going to St. Jude's, sir." Lily looked at him as if he had grown 2 heads. "You can't go there. It's daylight hours." Sebastian smiled, showing just the tips of his fangs. It was a terrifying smile. "For this little one, I'll buy a very large umbrella." The sun was a hateful thing, but Sebastian's limousine was tinted with military-grade blackout glass. He sat in the back, dressed in a charcoal 3-piece suit that cost more than the average American home. Beside him, Lily looked like a prisoner on her way to the gallows. She was wearing her school uniform, a plaid skirt and navy blazer, but it looked wrong on her. It was frayed at the cuffs. He hadn't realized how worn her clothes were. He paid Sarah a generous wage. Why was the girl dressing like a pauper? "Stop fidgeting," Sebastian said without looking up from his tablet. He was reading the bylaws of St. Jude's Academy. "It implies guilt." "I am guilty," Lily whispered, "of being poor in a rich school. That's the real crime." Sebastian lowered the tablet. He looked at her, really looked at her in the daylight, filtering through the partition. She had intelligent eyes, green like moss. "Tell me about the bracelet," he said. "There's nothing to tell. Jessica bumped into me in the hallway. She poured her iced latte on me. I went to the bathroom to clean up. When I came back to my locker, security was there. The bracelet was in my gym bag." "Classic," Sebastian murmured. "Lazy, but effective. And the bruise." Lily touched her cheek. "I tried to argue. Jessica didn't like my tone. She backhanded me. She hasn't turned for the first time yet, so she's strong, but not lethal. If she had been fully shifted, my jaw would be broken. And the teachers, Mr. Thorne, saw it happen," Lily said bitterly. "He turned his back. He said he didn't see anything. He's a ghoul. They do whatever the wolves tell them to." Sebastian tapped his finger against his knee. The politics of St. Jude's were a microcosm of the supernatural world. Vampires and werewolves at the top, witches and fae in the middle, and humans. Well, humans were usually there on diversity scholarships to make the monsters look benevolent. "Lily," Sebastian said softly, "why didn't you come to me?" She looked at him surprised. You're the vampire king. You haven't spoken to me in 5 years. The last time you acknowledged my existence was when I was 12. And I accidentally walked in on you feeding on a donor. You looked at me like I was a fly you wanted to swat." Sebastian flinched internally. Had he really been that dismissive? Yes, probably. To him, humans were fleeting. They aged and died while he barely finished a chapter of a book. Why get attached? "Things have changed," Sebastian said vaguely. The car slowed to a halt. The driver, a hulking gargoyle named Brock, using a glamour to look human, tapped on the glass. "We're here, boss. St. Jude's." Sebastian put on his sunglasses. Even with the tint, the walk from the car to the building would be unpleasant. "Stick close to me," he ordered Lily. They stepped out. The campus was magnificent Gothic architecture, sprawling ivy, students milling about in designer uniforms. A group of vampire students lounging under the shade of an ancient oak tree froze when they saw him. They smelled him first, the scent of ancient power, of blood that had been refined over centuries. Then they saw the face. Whispers erupted like wildfire. "It's Blackwood. It's the king. What is he doing here?" And then they saw who was walking beside him, the scholarship girl, the thief, the human. Lily kept her head down, her shoulders hunched. Sebastian stopped. He placed a hand on her shoulder, a heavy, claiming weight. "Chin up," he commanded, his voice carrying across the courtyard. "You are walking with a king. Act like it." Lily straightened her spine, trembling. They marched straight to the administrative building. The secretary, a harpy with glasses, looked up and nearly fell out of her chair. "Mr. Blackwood, we weren't expecting Headmaster. Now he's in a meeting with the school board and Mrs. Vanderhoven. But I can—" "Perfect." Sebastian smiled. "I love a full audience." He didn't wait to be announced. He walked to the double oak doors of the headmaster's office and kicked them open. The room was full. Headmaster Grimshaw, a low-level demon, sat behind his desk. On the plush leather sofa sat Mrs. Vanderhoven, a striking woman in furs, and her daughter, Jessica. Jessica looked exactly like the kind of girl who would frame a maid's daughter. Blonde, beautiful, and wearing a sneer that vanished the moment she saw Sebastian. Sebastian. Mrs. Vanderhoven stood up, smoothing her skirt. She was an old acquaintance, a social climber. "To what do we owe this pleasure? I didn't know you took an interest in high school education." Sebastian ignored her. He guided Lily into the room and pulled out a chair for her directly in front of the headmaster's desk. He didn't sit. He loomed. "I am here to correct a clerical error," Sebastian said, his voice filling the room. "It seems you have expelled my ward under false pretenses." "Your ward?" Headmaster Grimshaw stammered, adjusting his glasses. "We expelled Miss Miller, the daughter of your maid. She is a thief, Mr. Blackwood. She stole from Jessica." "I did not," Lily said, her voice shaking but audible. "She's lying," Jessica snapped. "We found it in her bag, and she's poor. Everyone knows she can't afford—" "Quiet," Sebastian said. He didn't shout. He just dropped the word like a stone into a pond, and the ripples silenced the room. He turned his sunglasses-clad eyes toward Jessica. "You say she stole your sapphire bracelet?" "The Cartier piece? Yes, yes," Jessica said defiantly. "The one your mother bought in Paris last summer," Sebastian continued. "Yes." "Strange," Sebastian mused. He reached into the inner pocket of his suit jacket. He pulled out a small velvet pouch. He upended it onto the headmaster's desk. A sapphire bracelet spilled out, glittering in the sunlight. The room went silent. "Because," Sebastian lied smoothly, "I bought this bracelet from the Vanderhoven estate auction 3 months ago when your family was having cash flow issues. I gave it to Lily as a gift for her academic excellence." Mrs. Vanderhoven turned pale. Her husband's gambling debts were a closely guarded secret. "How did Blackwood know so much?" Sebastian continued, leaning over the desk, his fangs lengthening just enough to be visible. "If Lily had the bracelet, it is because I gave it to her, which means she stole nothing, which means—" He turned to Jessica. "You recognized a piece of jewelry you used to own, got jealous that the help was wearing it, and concocted a story." It was a masterful bluff. Sebastian had actually bought the bracelet that morning from a fence he knew, matching the description Lily gave him in the car. It cost him $50,000 and a favor. But the look on Mrs. Vanderhoven's face confirmed he had hit the mark. "Jessica," Mrs. Vanderhoven hissed at her daughter, "did you lie to the headmaster?" I... Jessica stammered, looking between her mother's fury and the Vampire King's cold smile. "I think we're done here," Sebastian said. "Lily is reinstated immediately with an apology." "Of course," Headmaster Grimshaw said, sweating profusely, his dark skin slick with panic. "A terrible misunderstanding. Miss Miller, welcome back." Sebastian turned to leave, but Lily didn't move. She was staring at the bracelet on the desk. "Take it," Sebastian said to her. "It's yours." Lily picked it up, her hands trembling. She looked at Sebastian, and for the first time he saw something other than fear in her eyes. He saw awe. "Wait!" Jessica cried out, desperate to save face. "She's still just a maid's kid. She skips classes. She works nights. She's trash." Sebastian stopped at the door. He turned slowly. "She works nights," Sebastian said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, "because she is noble enough to help her mother. A concept you wouldn't understand, you spoiled little pup." He ushered Lily out of the office. As the door closed behind them, he heard Mrs. Vanderhoven slap her daughter. In the hallway, Lily leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "You lied for me. You bought that bracelet." "I invest in potential," Sebastian said, checking his watch. "Now go to class. I have a word to have with Mr. Henderson about your night shifts." Lily looked at him. "Thank you, Sebastian." She didn't call him master or sir. She called him Sebastian. He found that he didn't mind. "Go, Lily, before I change my mind and eat you." She smiled a small, real smile and ran down the hall. Sebastian watched her go. He should have gone back to the car. He should have gone home to sleep, but he didn't. Instead, he walked toward the library. He wanted to see her student file. He wanted to know exactly just how smart the girl washing his dishes really was. And what he found in those files would shock him more than the discovery in the kitchen. The library at St. Jude's Academy was less a place for books and more a museum of forgotten knowledge. Sunlight filtered through stained glass windows, depicting the Great War between warlocks and lycans, casting multicolored pools of light on the dusty oak tables. Sebastian Blackwood sat in a private alcove, the files spread out before him. The librarian, a nervous banshee named Mrs. Higgins, had brought him everything on Lily Miller. "Is there a problem, Your Majesty?" Mrs. Higgins whispered, wringing her pale, translucent hands. "Miss Miller is quiet. She never has overdue books." "Leave me," Sebastian commanded softly. She vanished into the stacks instantly. Sebastian opened the academic transcript. He expected to see average grades. Lily was, after all, working a full-time job as a scullery maid while trying to attend school. What he saw made his eyebrows climb toward his hairline. Mathematics, A+. Advanced Occult Theory, A+. Latin, A+. History of Magic, A+. The grades were perfect. But as he flipped to the disciplinary section, a contradiction emerged. Incident Report 402. Miss Miller accused of plagiarism in alchemy. Professor Thorne noted that the work was too advanced for a human mind to comprehend. Grade revised to F. Incident Report 518. Miss Miller accused of cheating on the calculus final. Student Brad Sterling, alpha heir of the Sterling pack, claimed his answers were copied. Miss Miller received detention. Sebastian growled low in his throat. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. It was his personal investigator, a shadow demon named Kyle. "Kyle, I need you to hack the St. Jude student submission server. Look at the metadata for the assignments submitted by Brad Sterling and Jessica Vanderhoven for the last 2 years. Tell me who actually wrote them." He waited, tapping his fingers on the ancient wood. 2 minutes later, his phone buzzed. "It's the girl, boss." Kyle's voice crackled. "The digital fingerprints are all over it. She's writing their papers. She's doing the work for half the varsity werewolf team. And get this, she's charging them." "She's charging them?" Sebastian repeated. "Yeah. Crypto transfers to an encrypted wallet. Not much, $50 here, 100 there, just enough to stay under the radar." Sebastian hung up. He leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. Lily Miller wasn't just a victim. She was a hustler. She was surviving in a shark tank by feeding the sharks exactly what they wanted, all while they spat on her. She was doing the coursework of the elite while scrubbing their dishes at night. He closed the file. He had seen enough. He left the school and instructed Brock to drive him back to the estate, but not to the front door. "Take me to the servants' entrance," Sebastian ordered, "and send for Mr. Henderson. Tell him to meet me in the kitchen." The kitchen was bustling. It was 11 a.m. and the lunch prep was underway. When the Vampire King walked through the service doors, the entire staff froze. Chefs dropped knives. Maids curtsied so low their knees hit the floor. Standing in the center of the chaos was Mr. Henderson. He was a portly human man with a red face and a suit that was too tight. He was screaming at Sarah, Lily's mother. "I don't care if your back hurts," Henderson shouted, unaware of the silence that had fallen behind him. "The master wants the silver polished for the gala next week. If you can't do it, maybe your useless daughter can put in another night shift." "Mr. Henderson," Sebastian said. The voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room like a razor. Henderson spun around, his face draining of blood so fast he looked like a corpse. "Master Blackwood," Henderson squeaked. I wasn't expecting you." "Clearly," Sebastian said. He walked forward, the staff parting like the Red Sea. He stopped inches from Henderson. "I have a question about the household accounts." "Accounts?" Henderson sweated. "Everything is in order, sir. I send the reports to your accountants monthly." "I know," Sebastian said. "I checked them on the ride over. I pay Sarah $4,000 a month, a generous wage for a housekeeper, and I pay St. Jude's $50,000 a year for Lily's tuition." "Yes, sir." Very generous. So, Sebastian continued, his voice dropping to a terrifying whisper, why is Sarah wearing shoes with holes in them? And why was Lily scrubbing dishes at 3 a.m. to earn her keep? Henderson opened his mouth, but no sound came out. I checked your personal bank accounts too, Sebastian said pleasantly. You bought a boat last month, the Sea Witch. Nice vessel. Cost about the exact amount of Lily's tuition for the last 3 years. Sarah gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. Mr. Henderson told us. He told us you cut the funding, sir. He said we had to pay the tuition ourselves, or Lily would be kicked out. He's been taking half my wages for rent. Sebastian turned to Sarah. His expression softened for a fraction of a second. I never charge rent to my people, Sarah. You know that? He turned back to Henderson. The air in the kitchen began to vibrate. The shadows in the corners of the room stretched out, curling around Sebastian's feet. You stole from me, Sebastian said. But worse, you abused my protection to enslave a child. You made her work in the dark while you slept in a bed bought with her mother's money. Please! Henderson fell to his knees. I'll pay it back. I have savings. Don't kill me. Kill you! Sebastian laughed. Death is too easy. You are going to sign over the deed to your house, your car, and that boat to Sarah today. Then you are going to leave this city. If I see you in New York after sunset tonight, I will hunt you and I will not be fast. Brock! Sebastian barked. The gargoyle driver stepped forward. Yes, boss. Escort Mr. Henderson to the bank. Ensure the transfers are made, then throw him in the garbage dump outside Jersey. As Henderson was dragged away weeping, Sebastian turned to the kitchen staff. Listen to me, he announced. Sarah is now the estate manager. She answers only to me. Anyone who disrespects her or her daughter answers to me. Is that clear? Yes, master, the staff chorused. Sebastian walked over to Sarah. She was crying. I'm sorry, Master Blackwood, she sobbed. I didn't want to bother you. You are family, Sarah, Sebastian said stiffly. He wasn't good with emotions. Where is Lily? She's in her room, sir, doing homework. Tell her to get dressed, Sebastian said, adjusting his cuffs. I have a business proposition for her. Lily sat on the edge of her bed in the small servants' quarters. The room was clean but cramped. She was staring at a calculus textbook, but her mind was on the bracelet on her wrist. The vampire king had saved her. Why? A knock on the door startled her. Lily? It was her mother. Her voice sounded strange, lighter, happier than it had been in years. Master Blackwood wants to see you in the library immediately. Lily's stomach did a flip. Had he changed his mind? Was he going to demand payment for the bracelet? She hurried through the manor, her sneakers squeaking on the hardwood floors. When she reached the library, the heavy doors were open. Sebastian was standing by the fireplace, holding a glass of dark red liquid. He looked up as she entered. Sit! He motioned to a leather armchair. Lily sat. She felt tiny in the massive chair. I know about your side business, Sebastian said without preamble. Lily froze. I don't know what you mean. Ghostwriting, Sebastian said. Brad Sterling, Jessica Vanderhoven, you're the reason half the sophomore class is passing. Lily looked down. I needed the money. Henderson, he took everything. Henderson is gone, Sebastian said dismissively. He has been terminated. Your mother is now in charge of the staff. Her salary has been tripled, and all back pay has been returned. Lily's head snapped up. What? You don't have to scrub dishes anymore, Lily, and you don't have to write essays for idiots. Sebastian took a sip of his drink. However, I do have a use for your particular set of skills. My skills? The Founders' Ball is this Saturday, Sebastian said. It is the most important political event of the supernatural calendar. Every clan leader, pack alpha and covenhead will be there. I know it, Lily said. The students talk about it all year. I need a date, Sebastian said. Lily blinked. She looked around the room, assuming he was talking to someone else. You want me to find you a date? No, Sebastian sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. I want you to be my date. Lily let out a short, hysterical laugh. Me? Sir, I'm the maid's daughter. I own one pair of jeans and a hoodie. If I walk into the founder's ball, they'll think the catering staff got lost. You are not going as the maid's daughter, Sebastian said, his eyes glowing intensely. You are going as my ward, my protégé. You see, Lily, I have many enemies. They think I am getting old, complacent. They think I am disconnected from the modern world. He set his glass down and walked toward her. I need someone who knows the younger generation, someone who knows the secrets of the alpha heirs and the warlock debutantes, someone who has written their essays and knows their weaknesses. He leaned down, his face inches from hers. I need a spy, Lily, and you are the most invisible person in their world. They don't see you, they see a servant, but you see everything. Lily felt a shiver run down her spine. It wasn't fear, it was adrenaline. He was offering her a weapon. What do I have to do, she asked. Wear a dress, look beautiful, and whisper in my ear whenever you see someone who has a secret. Sebastian smiled. Can you do that? Lily thought of Jessica van der Hoven. She thought of Brad Sterling. She thought of every time they had looked through her like she was glass. Yes, Lily said. Good! Sebastian snapped his fingers. From the shadows, a team of stylists emerged. They were fae, small, glimmering creatures with measuring tapes and pins. You have 3 days, Sebastian told them. Make her look like a queen. Saturday night, the Founder's Ball. The grand hotel ballroom was dripping in gold and crystals. The air smelled of expensive perfume, ozone, and fresh blood. The arrival of the Vampire King was always the highlight of the night. The heavy doors swung open and the chatter died down instantly. Sebastian Blackwood stood at the top of the marble staircase. He wore a tuxedo that was cut to perfection, a blood-red ruby pinned to his lapel. But nobody was looking at him. They were looking at the girl on his arm. Lily Miller was unrecognizable. Her chestnut hair fell in cascading waves down her back. Her skin glowed with health and a touch of fey glamour. But it was the dress that stopped hearts. It was a deep crimson red, the color of arterial blood. It was silk, strapless, and fitted to her form like a second skin, flaring out at the bottom in a dramatic train. Around her neck was a diamond choker that cost more than the entire estate. Breathe, Sebastian whispered to her as he felt her hand tighten on his arm. They are sheep. You are the wolf. I thought you were the wolf, Lily whispered back, keeping her head high. Tonight, Sebastian smirked. We share the kill. They descended the stairs. The silence broke into a roar of whispers. Who is she? Is that a new vampire? Is she royalty from Europe? As they reached the floor, Jessica van der Hoven stepped forward. She was wearing a pale pink dress that looked childish next to Lily's crimson gown. Jessica didn't recognize her at first. Sebastian, Jessica purred, ignoring the girl. My mother saved a dance for you. Sebastian looked at Jessica with bored amusement. I'm afraid my dance card is full. Have you met my associate? Jessica turned her eyes to Lily, offering a sneering smile. I don't believe we've... Jessica stopped. She stared into Lily's green eyes. Recognition dawned slowly, horrific and absolute. Lily, Jessica gasped. The maid! The people nearby turned to listen. This was the moment, the humiliation. Lily didn't flinch. She smiled, a smile she had learned from Sebastian in the last 3 days. Cool, detached, lethal. Hello, Jessica, Lily said. Her voice was smooth, cultured. I loved your essay on the ethics of lycanthropy, the one you submitted last Tuesday. Jessica went pale. Oh, wait, Lily continued, feigning confusion. That was the draft I wrote for you. I forgot to correct the spelling of lycanthropy in the second paragraph. Did Professor Thorne catch it?" The small crowd around them gasped. A vampire duke chuckled. "You wrote her paper?" the duke asked, amused. "I tutor many of the slower students," Lily said sweetly. "Sebastian encouraged it. It's a charity project." Jessica looked like she wanted to shift right there and tear Lily's throat out. But she couldn't. Not in front of the king. "You little—" Jessica started. "Careful," Sebastian interjected. His hand rested possessively on Lily's lower back. "You are speaking to my ward. Insult her and you insult the House of Blackwood." Jessica retreated, humiliated, dragging her mother with her. Sebastian guided Lily onto the dance floor. The orchestra began a waltz. "You were vicious," Sebastian murmured as he spun her. "I liked it." "I was terrified," Lily admitted, her heart pounding against her ribs. "You didn't show it." They moved together perfectly. Sebastian led with a strength that was intoxicating. Lily felt like she was flying. For the first time in her life, she wasn't the girl in the background. She was the center of the universe. But the night wasn't over. As the music swelled, a man stepped out from the crowd. He was tall, with hair like white fire, and eyes that were completely black. It was Victor Valeris, Sebastian's oldest rival, the leader of the southern vampire clans. He cut in, stopping the couple in the middle of the floor. "Sebastian." Victor smiled, revealing teeth that were too sharp, too long. "You didn't tell us you adopted a pet." Victor grabbed Lily's arm. His grip was bruising, and a human one at that. "She smells delicious." Sebastian's demeanor changed instantly. The sophisticated gentleman vanished. The monster woke up. "Take your hand off her, Victor," Sebastian said. The lights in the ballroom flickered. "Or what?" Victor sneered, tightening his grip on Lily. "She's frail, Sebastian. One snap and she breaks." Lily looked at Victor. She saw the arrogance, but she also saw something else. A small silver pin on his lapel. A pin that belonged to the radical anti-human faction, the Purists. She remembered a file she had read in the library, a history paper she had written for a senior vampire student about the treaties. "He can't hurt me," Lily said loudly, her voice cutting through the tension. Victor looked down at her, amused. "Oh, and why is that, little mouse?" "Because," Lily said, staring him in the eyes, "you are standing on Blackwood soil. The Grand Hotel is owned by Sebastian. By the Treaty of 1922, if a guest draws blood from a member of the host's household, the host is legally allowed to claim the guest's entire territory." Victor froze. "She's right," a voice called out. It was the High Chancellor of the Council. Article 4, Section 2. Lily smiled at Victor. "Do you want to lose the South, Victor? For one drop of my blood?" Victor's face twisted in fury. He released her arm as if it were red-hot iron. "Smart girl," Victor hissed at Sebastian. "Keep her close. Intelligence is a dangerous thing." Victor stormed off. The crowd erupted into whispers again, but this time they were whispers of respect. Sebastian looked down at Lily. He wasn't just impressed anymore. He was mesmerized. "Where did you learn the Treaty of 1922? He asked. "I read it." Lily shrugged, rubbing her arm. "I read everything." Sebastian took her hand and kissed the knuckles. It was a gesture of courtly love, but the heat in his eyes was very real. "Come," he said, "let's get some fresh air before I decide to declare war on the South just for touching you." He led her to the balcony. The night air was cool. "Lily," Sebastian said, turning to her, "tonight changed things. You are a target now." "I was always a target," Lily said. "At least now I have a shield." "No," Sebastian shook his head. He touched her cheek, his thumb tracing her jawline. "You are not hiding behind a shield anymore. You are standing beside the sword." He leaned in. The distance between them vanished. Lily's breath hitched. He was going to kiss her. The vampire king was going to kiss the maid's daughter. But before their lips could meet, a frantic shout came from the ballroom. "Fire! The kitchen is on fire!" Sebastian spun around. Smoke was billowing from the vents. "Victor!" Sebastian growled. "That petty coward!" "No!" Lily said, grabbing his arm. Her eyes were wide. "It's not Victor. Look at the smoke. It's green." "Green? It's Banefire," Lily said. "Witchfire designed to kill vampires." She looked at Sebastian, realization dawning on her. "This wasn't a social call, Sebastian. It's an assassination attempt, and the doors are sealed." The ballroom of the Grand Hotel transformed instantly from a palace of elegance into a cage of nightmares. The green smoke wasn't just smoke. It was vaporized wolfsbane and concentrated holy water suspended in a magical fire that burned not with heat, but with spiritual dissolution. For a human, it was merely an irritant like tear gas. For the vampires in the room, it was acid. Screams erupted, sounds that were not human, guttural roars of ancient predators realizing they were trapped. Sebastian staggered, his hand gripping the balcony railing so hard the marble cracked. His skin began to hiss. The immortality that made him a god was now his greatest weakness. "Sebastian!" Lily grabbed his arm. The silk of his tuxedo was smoking. "Get away from me!" Sebastian gasped, his eyes bleeding crimson tears. "The fire, it targets dark energy. If you touch me, it might jump to you." "Don't be stupid," Lily snapped. She looked around. The exits were blocked by walls of green flame. Vampires were piling up against the magic barriers, their flesh blistering. The warlocks and fae were trying to dispel it, but the magic was chaotic, ancient. Lily looked at the fire. She reached her hand out. "Lily, no!" Sebastian roared, trying to lunge for her, but he fell to his knees, weakened by the fumes. Lily's hand passed through the green flame. She felt a tickle, a slight warmth, but no burn. She was human, mundane. The Banefire had nothing to latch onto. She turned back to Sebastian. The King of New York was on his knees, breathing in death. "It doesn't hurt me," Lily shouted over the chaos. "I can cross it." She ripped the hem of her expensive red dress, tearing the long train to free her legs. She grabbed a pitcher of ice water from a nearby table, soaked a linen napkin, and tied it around Sebastian's face to filter the smoke. "Stand up!" she commanded. She hauled him up. He was heavy, dead weight, but adrenaline gave her strength she didn't know she had. I cannot cross the barrier," Sebastian rasped. "You can if I carry you," Lily said. "If I wrap you in my energy. I'm the insulator." She threw his arm over her shoulder. She hugged him tight, pressing her human body against his cold, burning one. She walked straight toward the wall of green fire. "Close your eyes," she whispered. They stepped into the inferno. Sebastian screamed, a sound that tore at Lily's heart, but she didn't stop. She dragged him through the roaring green abyss. For 10 seconds the world was nothing but heat and the smell of ozone. And then they burst out into the cool night air of the hotel lobby. Lily collapsed, dragging Sebastian with her. His skin was angry and red, but he was healing already, the smoke clearing from his lungs. "Brock!" Lily screamed. The gargoyle driver was already there, tearing the front doors off their hinges. He scooped Sebastian up like a doll. "To the car!" Brock bellowed. "We're compromised. Hotel security is all down." They piled into the limousine. As they sped away, tires screeching, Lily looked back. The Grand Hotel was glowing green against the skyline. "My people," Sebastian whispered, lying on the back-seat floor. He was weak, his regeneration factor fighting the poison. "I left them to burn." "The sprinklers triggered as we left," Lily said, her hands pressing against his chest, checking his vitals. "The humans were dragging the others out. You didn't leave them, Sebastian. You survived, so you can kill whoever did this." Sebastian grabbed her wrist. His grip was weak, but his eyes were blazing with a terrifying hunger. Not for blood, but for vengeance. "Where are we going?" Lily asked Brock. "The manor is unsafe." Brock grunted, eyes on the rearview mirror. "If they hit the hotel, they'll hit the house. We're going to the nest." "The nest? Sebastian's panic room?" "Penthouse in Midtown," Brock said. "Lead-lined, magic-proof, off the grid." Sebastian groaned, his head lolling back. "Lily, I'm here," she said, stroking his sweat-dampened hair. "You saved me," he murmured, his voice thick with disbelief. "A human girl saved the vampire king." "I told you," Lily whispered, her voice trembling now that the danger was momentarily past. "I'm not just the maid's daughter anymore." "No." Sebastian closed his eyes, his hand sliding down to hold hers. "You are my queen." He passed out. The nest was a stark, lead-lined penthouse overlooking Central Park. 6 hours after the fire, Sebastian sat shirtless on a metal exam table, his burns healing into faint silver scars. Across the room, Lily wasn't resting. She was typing furiously at a glass terminal, still wearing her ruined red dress. "I traced the sulfur purchase for the Banefire," Lily announced, her eyes glued to the screen. "A shell company called Argentum Holdings. It connects directly to Thomas Sterling, the Wolf Alpha." She tapped a final key. "And look at the funding, 10 million in crypto from a wallet belonging to Victor Valeris." Sebastian paced the room, a predator caged. "Victor paid the wolves to burn us. It was a coup. If I died, Victor would take the north, and the Sterlings would get the docks." He stopped behind her chair, his voice thick with realization. "You didn't just save me, Lily. You just handed me the evidence to execute them all legally." The air shifted from strategic to electric. Sebastian turned her chair around, boxing her in. "Why?" he whispered. "I'm a monster." Lily reached up, touching the fading scar on his chest. "You saw me when no one else did. You saved me from that kitchen." Sebastian leaned down, his forehead resting against hers. "I think I was the one who needed saving." He kissed her, a hungry, desperate claim that tasted of smoke and survival. For a moment, the war didn't exist. There was only the king and his queen. The intercom buzzed, shattering the moment. Kyle, the shadow demon, stumbled out of the elevator, bleeding black ichor. "Boss, the Sterlings! They surrounded the manor looking for Lily. When they couldn't find her..." He held out a crumpled note. Sebastian read it, his voice dropping to absolute zero. "Bring us the girl by sunrise, or the mother dies." Lily went pale, but she didn't break. The genius who had hacked a crime syndicate locked onto a new target. "We can't fight 200 wolves," Kyle wheezed. "It's suicide." "No." Lily walked to the weapons wall, grabbing a heavy silver crossbow. "It's a trap, but I know their laws. I know how to stall them." She turned to Sebastian with terrifying resolve. "My mom is there. We're going." Sebastian buttoned his shirt and grabbed a massive obsidian sword, his eyes glowing with ancient rage. He realized then that he hadn't just found a lover. He had found a warlord. "Brock!" he barked into the comms. "Bring the car round. We're going hunting." The Sterling stronghold was a graveyard of rusted shipping containers under the harsh glare of floodlights. 200 wolves stood in a circle, jeering as the limousine rolled to a stop. In the center, Sarah was bound to a forklift, sobbing. Thomas Sterling, the scarred alpha, grinned as Sebastian and Lily stepped out. "You're outnumbered, Leech," Thomas roared, his voice echoing off the metal. "Sign over the banking district or the mother dies. We'll keep the girl, though. Brad says she's useful." Sebastian's eyes turned pitch black, his obsidian sword trembling with the need for blood. He prepared to slaughter them all, regardless of the odds. But Lily stepped in front of him. "Stop!" she screamed, her voice piercing the tension. "I invoke the Lex Liar. I challenge the Alpha to a battle of wits," the pack gasped. To refuse a lawful challenge from a member of a protected household was to admit cowardice. Thomas sneered, trapped by his own traditions. Fine, my riddle first. I have no voice, but I scream. I have no wings, but I fly. What am I? The wind, Lily answered instantly. She took a step closer, eyes blazing. My turn. I took 30 pieces of silver to sell a king, but I'm not Judas. I build bridges of lies. What am I? Thomas froze. The pack fell silent, waiting. It's the night, he stammered. Wrong, Lily declared coldly. The answer is a traitor. She threw a handful of papers into the air, printed bank records she had hacked earlier. These prove you took $10 million from the southern vampires to burn the hotel. You sold out your pack's honor for silver. The wolves growled, the scent of betrayal thick in the air. Realizing he had lost his army, Thomas snarled, shifting into a massive wolf and lunging at Lily with lethal intent. Now, Sebastian. Sebastian moved faster than thought. He was a blur of shadow and violence, catching the alpha in midair. He slammed Thomas into the concrete with the force of a meteor. The ground shattered and Thomas Sterling moved no more. Sebastian stood over the broken body, wiping his hands. The alpha is dead. He was a traitor. The beta wolf looked at the bank records, then at Lily. Slowly he knelt. One by one, 200 wolves bowed their heads, not to the vampire king, but to the human girl who had outsmarted them. Sebastian sliced Sarah's ropes, then turned to Lily. As the first light of dawn touched the Brooklyn Bridge, he pulled her into his arms. You solved the riddle, he whispered, looking at her with absolute worship. I wrote the riddle. She smiled, breathless. The sun is rising, Sebastian murmured, pulling her close as the morning light bathed them. But I'm not going anywhere, my queen. And that is the story of how a scullery maid brought the supernatural world to its knees. I hope you enjoyed this tale of romance, revenge, and high-stakes drama. What did you think of Lily's transformation? Most people would have run away, but she stood her ground and used her brain to defeat brawn. If you were in her shoes, would you have challenged the alpha, or would you have taken the money and run? Let me know in the comments below. If you loved this story, please smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you want more vampire romances. Don't forget to share this with a friend who needs a good story and hit subscribe with the notification bell turned on so you never miss the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next.